What's up, ladies and gents, and welcome back to Age of Empires Definitive Edition. As you can see, we are here with another tech tree, which means, yes, we continue our civilization overviews. This time with the Choson, which sounds a lot like the Chosen ones, but we'll see if we're that chosen or if they're just mediocre or even bad. Or at least we're going to see what they are good at. And right off the bat we get a hint at that, namely the Axemen, short, broad, long swordsmen and legion get +5, 15, 20, 60 and 80 hit points respectively. What that means is the Axemen, which have 50 base health, which we can see here, get 55. Like you could see the hit points down there. The short swordsmen get 75 instead of 60. The broadswordsmen get 100 instead of 80. The long swordsmen get 160 instead of 100. And the legion get 220 instead of 140. And what that means is you get really durable infantry. What that means exactly, we are going to look at once we are going to look at the barracks. The storage pit technologies cost -40%. How much that actually is worth we are going to look at in a bit when we hit the storage pit. The towers have +2 range, which sounds useful. Whether it actually is and what that means, we're going to look at when we look at the towers. And priests cost -30%, which is pretty straightforward. So not much to explain right there. Obviously, it's only one unit and you say 30%. First off, as always, we are going to look at the barracks, and as we have already discussed, this is the strong suit of the Chosen. We have the clubman, the axeman, and the slinger being the first unit that is regularly left out, but we have the option of going for a slinger rush if you are unsure how that works. You can see my video on that as well. And then we obviously have the swordsman line entirely because we also have the bonuses for them. That gives us not only buffed units but also all of them and a little bit of variety with the slinger rush. Now you might be wondering, how strong is this bonus? And I'd say first off we jump into the raw numbers. And we have obviously already gone through the raw numbers, as in how many hit points the regular unit has, in this case 50 to 55, and how many units the chosen unit has. But the interesting part is, if you look at the percentages, we have a 10% increase in the Tool Age, we have a 25% increase in the Bronze Age, and we have roughly a 60% increase in the Iron Age. So what that means is, not only do we get higher bonuses each age, but they also rise in the percentage of hit points based on the base value. So what that means is this bonus is getting stronger. While you only have a 10% bonus with the Axemen, which you can notice a bit but isn't really that notable, to the Iron Age where we get a 60% bonus from 140 here in the Legion to 220 hit points, which can make a huge difference and which really shows in duels, which is what we look at right now. So first off we are looking at 10 Axemen versus 10 Axemen, and one of theirs actually walked away, so I'm going to walk one of mine away as well. I'm not going to micro anyone here. And as you can see, it does give you an advantage, although it's entirely possible that you actually lose this fight. We are going to restart this. It can get... one of theirs is always running off and I don't know why. It is entirely possible that you lose this fight despite having a 10% bonus depending on how the pathing goes. And that bonus which is why we're doing free tests, that bonus is notable, but it's not as strong as it sounds. Now the 10% obviously is not super strong, but as you can see, you get varying results because the bonus isn't that huge. I'm going to pull one of my units again. Again, I have no idea why one of their units is always running off. The pathing, as you can see, of the outside units is ridiculous. But you can also see, okay, the results. Yes, we win the fight, and we have some units left, but we have a 1v1 here right now. As you can see, we have 55 instead of 50, and we have 5 attack, which means we can take one more hit in a direct duel, which means whenever we have a 1v1 duel, we win it. And as you can see, yeah, we survive with 3 left, with 4 left, with 2 left sometimes. And like I said, if the pathing goes completely wrong, then you can even lose it. And we'll see how it stacks up with the later bonuses. Namely, with the 10 broadswords, we are moving one away again. I have absolutely no idea why this happens. As you can see, the pathing is going completely wrong. Again. But you can see a much greater result. Even though the pathing obviously greatly contributed to Red's demise, you can see, okay, now we have a lot of units left. Whereas in the other case, we basically had 3 of them left. Moving away again, and maybe the pathing is doing a little bit of a better job this time. And you can see it in the bonus in full effect. Now, Broadswordsmen, like I already mentioned, have the 25% increase. We are now in the Bronze Age. Well, technically we're in the Iron Age, but the unit is from Bronze Age. I just wanted to make sure we have full Bronze Age upgrades. And as you can see, we basically wipe them out. We lose very little. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 units left. Well, we have 8 left. It was a 9v9 in the end. So we only lost 1 unit, and here we can see how strong the bonus is in a direct fight, and we'll see how strong it is in the Iron Age with the legions. And here we have the 10 legions. Once again, move 1 unit away. And all the outside units don't really want to fight. But you will be able to, I mean, both sides have issues with the pathing. We lost a unit right there. If the micro is a little bit better, we lose this one as well, but as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Of the 9, we lost 1 again. And if we restart this, we move 1 out of the way again. You can see very clearly in this kind of direct fight how much of a difference it makes. What was less quantifiable that I want to mention as well is these units are much more durable when approaching ranged units, because they actually get to the targets. But it was very hard to put that into numbers here, and this time we have lost 2. Obviously, the more you do it, the closer you get to a result where you can say, okay, this is representative, but the results are very similar. It's just based on the micro and based on the pathing in this case, because we don't do micro. Based on the pathing you get different results. Because obviously pathing in this game is absolutely horrible. And it's just the more units you take here, the more it staggers, because we can just finish this now. Because obviously once the first of their units are going down on these 1v1s, then these surviving units can focus and create 2v1 situations in the next fight, and then it just steamrolls the enemy. And I think this very clearly has shown how big of an advantage this HP boost is. Even though, and we can do a new test, even though these are not the strongest infantry units in the game, but I've picked an opponent that has basically the same upgrades. Obviously this one doesn't matter for this type of game, obviously only the regular army matters in this duel. And you just get such great results if you do these duels. That finishes that, and I would say we see each other with the next bit. Next up we have the situation of having Legion versus fully upgraded Legions, as we lack the last armor upgrade. As you can see, we have, let's counteract their horrendous micro. Two of their units don't really seem particularly interested in us. And as you can already see, yeah, we have 2+4, they have 2+6, but it really doesn't make much of a difference. Even when we take these two units away, we are still vastly destroying them. You can see we have 5 left here, and we will probably only lose 1 here. So that makes 6, 7, 8. That's a lot of them that are left, and the last thing we are looking at is how much of difference does it make that we are lacking the shield upgrades or the range defense here, because we only get +1. We do one last test here, because we always do like 2 to 3 tests to show that things are not a fluke. Where units are just, I'm not entirely sure what's up with their units, to be honest. I have no idea what they are up to. They're just sitting around, I don't get it. But even when we retreat 3 units, our units still need to fight their units, even if they're a little bit passive, and we still have a lot of them left. So yeah, we'll see each other when testing out the range defense. And first off, we have 20 Chosen Legions post-Iron Age, I think. Should be post-Iron Age. Yes. Against 20 Babylonian towers, and we know how good those are. Again, post-Iron Age. So they will be replaced with the actual post-Iron Age ones. And we will now go for it and try to figure out the result of them, and we'll see how well they are doing compared to the regular legions. So we'll probably take legions that get all the range defense. We have lost 1 unit so far. We will probably use a couple more. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 7. That's 16 of the 20 remaining. We will probably lose some more. That's 15 remaining, 14 remaining. Obviously we have all the defense, the attack upgrades, so that's not an issue with Chosen. And we finish on 14 remaining units. And if we now switch to a different civilization with the full upgrades but without the HP bonus, we will see what their result is. And what we are going to look at is Persian units, so we switch to the Persians here. And it's actually quite hard to find a civilization that has both the range defense, or all three of the range defense upgrades, and all the attack upgrades and legions. So it's not as easy as you might think. We will try to micro rather similarly. And I think we will get quite a different result here. When we had 14 units left last time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 once again, so that is already only 16 left. We still have 16 left, that's somewhat surprising. Not that much. Now we have 15 left, we have 14 left, we have 13 left, we have 12 left, we have 11 left, should be it. Yes, we win with 11 units left, which is, I would say, quite the difference, and which once again shows the HP bonus trumps these other bonuses, or trumps the missing tax, so to speak. And the last thing I'm going to look at is the Chosen against the Romans, because the Romans get the 33% faster attack, and we are going to look at which legions are the better. And here we have a 10v10 between Chosen in the blue and the Romans in the red. And the Romans run off with 1 unit, so we do that as well. Let's chase them. But as you can see, what are they doing? As you can see, the Romans are better. Not substantially, but they are better. We actually get a 1v1 hero. Well, I think we have the first hit off on him. And he's actually trying to micro away. But the faster attack, plus getting full upgrades, actually makes them stronger. Unless you can kill everyone, but yeah, this so the Romans still trump the Chosen, but it's close. So we actually have a competitor for the Romans in infantry fights, which is something, even if we are slightly worse here, but it is what it is. And the last thing we are going to do with the barracks is we are going to look at the possible upgrades. I've already mentioned them, but we're also going to look at them in the storage pit. And then we are going to move on to the other bits, which require a little less talking about because, well, they don't have the same bonuses and are as such not as interesting to compare to other civilizations. So here we are back in the tech tree, and we should probably pick the correct one, namely the Chosen, and we have the barracks, and what we are going to look at is here, the storage pit. We get all the attack upgrades, which is good. We do not get chainmail infantry, which is bad, but not a deal breaker, as we have discussed and seen. And I think actually if they got the upgrade, they would beat the Romans. I think that's one of the big ones, so that's probably one of the reasons why we don't get it. And obviously they are strong enough without it. And we do not get Iron Shield and Tower Shield, but once again the extra HP more than makes up for that. And the last upgrade relating to it is logistics, although I think every civilization gets logistics, so that's not a big deal. And I'd say that wraps up the barracks. And after the barracks, as always, we have the archery range, and like every civilization we have the bowman, but the first thing that jumps to mind is we do not have the chariot archer. We do have improved bowman, but no composite bowman. The improved bowman is a good unit. and a relatively low costing unit, so it's certainly worth a consideration, but against actual archer civilizations you are certainly on the back foot. Again, chariot archers, they are a strong unit to have when you run out of gold and you go into a trash war later on, so that's a shame. You get horse archers, but once again, no heavy horse archers, so kind of the same issue that you have with the improved bowmen. You get an option, but not a particularly great one, so all in all the archery range is a little bit forgettable. You probably still want to build it to get the siege workshop, but that's kind of self-explanatory. And that brings us to the siege workshop in just a bit, but first we look at the upgrades, namely we missed chainmail archer armor. All the later armor upgrades are missing, which is a bit of a shame. But we do get craftsmanship, which means we get the missile weapon range. What we don't get is alchemy, which increases the damage for the ranged units, but we do get ballistics. So yeah, range a very, very mixed bag. Nothing particularly outstanding. Next up we have a siege workshop, and unfortunately that doesn't look much better. We only get the stone thrower, which is kinda pathetic. And we do get the ballista, which is good, but like we have already mentioned, we don't get alchemy, we don't get engineering for the +2 siege weapon range. All in all, really, really not great. As far as, I mean, obviously it's not terrible, but it's not great. Getting the Helepolis, yes, the Helepolis is a good unit, but comparatively to other siege units from other civilizations, they're really not their strong suit. But if you do want to besiege someone, then probably the Helepolis is your only true chance, or you use your buffed legions. But really, yeah, siege workshop, kind of forgettable. Then we have a stable, and the stable gives us a kind of interesting picture. We get the scout, as I think all civilizations do. We do not get chariots, which once again, combined with the missing chariot archers, is a big hit when you run out of gold. We really only have the X-Men, as buffed as they might be, but in the Iron Age that's not particularly great. We have a bowman and we have a scout, and that's it. And that is not great, so missing chariot and chariot archers, huge problem when it comes to trash wars against other civilizations. We also don't have camel riders, that's not too big of a deal. A lot of civilizations are missing them. You wouldn't have any bonuses anyway, so really not too big of a deal. We do have cavalry though, and their heavy cavalry is actually pretty good. We have cavalry, we have heavy cavalry, and we have cataphracts. They also get full upgrades. What we don't get is chainmail cavalry, which is a slight hit. We also don't get any bonuses on them. As you can see, there are no bonuses on them, but only missing one upgrade. We do get nobility, which gives the plus 15% hit points, and really the horses, they are very solid. Again, apart from missing this one upgrade, they are very, very solid, and a lot of civilizations don't get full upgrades on the horses. So the cataphracts are an option to use, certainly, if you're up against a cavalry-focused civilization. Obviously you have weaker ones, but you still have legions to throw at them in that case. But like I said, they are usable. They are an alternative unit if you need something quick, if you need a striking force. The heavy cavalry of them is good. What isn't good, as sad as that sounds, is the academy. Namely, we only get the hoplites, and I think part of that is getting strong legions. We already have a strong infantry unit. Now the hoplites, obviously they are serviceable in the Bronze Age, like they are for most civilizations. You get the full upgrades, and that is really everything we need to look at in the Bronze Age. But if you go into the Iron Age, you don't get chainmail infantry, you don't get iron shield, you don't get tower shield, and these two Obviously the base armor is pretty good, but these two for the ranged armor are very important for academy units because they are slow. So ranged units can get off a lot of shots, and having armor against that is important. We don't have that. We get the bronze shield, but that's not a lot. We also don't get phalanx, we don't get centurions, so that's already pretty much throwing it out of the window because hoplites aren't particularly great against late game Iron Age units. That being said, we also don't get aristocracy, which means they are slow. We don't get the faster movement. So really the academy is just a no. It's just a no. Especially against ranged units. You don't have the speed to close in on them. You don't have the defense to kind of neglect the shots that are coming in. You don't have anything. You only have hoplites, and that's in a pinch, in a rough situation, a rough spot where you need some durable defense. You can use the hoplites in the Bronze Age, but once you go into the Iron Age, you must transition out of it. So then we have the storage pit, and what we can see right off the bat is we have everything in the Tool Age, we have everything in the Bronze Age, but that's not really setting us apart from any other of the civilizations. What is setting us apart is we only have the attack upgrade. Why? Well, the main reason is the durable infantry, and getting these upgrades would make them even more durable and maybe put them a little bit over the top. Not getting the chainmail cavalry is probably, we already have the strong infantry, we do not need super strong cavalry on top of that, so we just get a regular strong one. Missing one upgrade only, not a big deal. Missing the archer armor upgrade, well, our archers are kind of pathetic anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. The horse archers are usable due to getting nobility, so you get a little bit more buff on them, but that's really, in a pinch you can use them, but that's more or less it. The important thing about the storage pit is the technologies cost 40% less. And here there's no math shenanigan going on or anything, they all cost exactly 40% less. I did the math on all of them, and all in all we save 570 food and 252 gold. Which is something, especially with food. When you want to age up and you research these technologies and you want to age up faster, that saves you a lot of food. Or since these units cost food and gold, saving food and gold allows you to pump out more infantry, which is obviously your strong suit, so it goes hand in hand with the saved resources and the units you want to build. Then we have the granary, and the granary obviously has the defensive buildings, and here we have some actual showcasing going on again with the walls. Not really the walls, they are just regular walls. We get all of them, more fortified walls, and we get architecture, which means plus 20 building and wall hit points, which is always good to make them a little bit more durable. The towers, however, as you can see here, have plus 2 range. And what that means, we are going to look in the actual practical testing. And right off the bat, what I'm going to show you is a sentry tower against a stone thrower. That is a duel you might have a lot in the Bronze Age, and that goes hand in hand with a strategy I'm going to explain in a second. But let's just look at it right off the bat. What you can see is, with our bonus, we get 10 range, and he also gets 10 range. We can hit stone throwers. Stone throwers cannot outrange your towers if you get your range upgrade. As you can see, we are now taking them down. Obviously, if they use a lot of stone throwers or they use precise micro, they can still do damage to you, but that requires a lot more work than just picking the stone thrower and sending it to your tower. What that means is your towers are incredibly difficult to take down in the Bronze Age. And that means you can play a defensive Bronze Age, go into the Iron Age on a strong economy and pump out very durable legions. But But what the bonus means in the Iron Age, we are going to look at now. And what we are going to look at is we have an Assyrian Catapult, and without any upgrades, and they have a Choson post-Iron Age tower. And if we use our catapult here, we see they have 12 range and we also have 12 range. Now what that means is your towers can hit catapults. Regular catapults, if they get any upgrades, it's over. But the thing is, not everyone gets upgrades to their catapults. Some people have to use, or some civilizations have to use, standard catapults because they don't get range upgrades. So when you do that and you fight a fully upgraded Chosen tower, well, good luck. Obviously what you can do, and this is now from the other perspective if you're up against the Chosen, is you can do this. You can out-micro the tower. If it's a ballista tower, the arrows are a lot harder to out-micro. Ballista towers are a little bit easier to out-micro. And that obviously can make sense. That being said, which is what I already said in the last one, is it requires a lot of work and attention, and that pulls attention away from other things, which gives you the heads up to be able to counteract, to attack them, to kind of get a leg up on them, because they have to now not only rely on just outranging you and not worrying about it, but they now have to focus on microing against your tower, which can be an advantage. And lastly, we have a very fun thing, because I have picked a Palmyran fully upgraded catapult against our fully upgraded tower, and you will see we get 13 range. It's a heavy catapult, 13 range. Palmyrans, they do not get the range upgrade. We have 12 range, but it shoots us. Now I'm not entirely sure which kind of range mechanic is at play here, but we cannot outrange it despite having one more range. We can't. It's impossible. I have tried from several directions as well, it just did not work. It has to be something regarding how it counts for tiles, but despite having one more range, now I think it's because it counts with stone as being in the back of a tile, and it counts the arrow going from the front, that it has something to do with that. But obviously we can out-micro it, but we can't actually do that. We can't outrange it, so we can actually hit heavy catapults if they don't have the range upgrade, and that is a big thing. Even though it has one more range. I'm not entirely sure if it's intended or what's going on there, but yes, it works. So that's probably good to know. It works with the other towers as well. If they only outrange you by one, you can shoot them. Good to know, a little tip on the side. So I think this gives you a little overview about how good that tower bonus is and how you might implement it into your strategy and what advantage it gives. And we are back with the market now, and the market is pretty straightforward. They get everything. It's good, it's great, it's perfect. Obviously we have no benefits or anything special about the market. You just get everything. It's a strong economy, which you are going to need if you want to sustain a legion push, but it's great, it's good. No complaints here. Obviously no bonuses, but no complaints. Next up we have the town center, and we can build a villager. Okay, I'm just kidding. We have a government center next. And Bronze Age, get everything. Nobility is kind of important if you do want to go for horses. Riding self-explanatory. Logistics, again, I think everyone gets that, but it's very important for you. You should do that when you get for the barracks units. They only take half population. You can spam out those durable units and it's great. Architecture can be good when in combination with your towers. Ballistics, important with your towers. Well, depending on how well the enemy micros. Aristocracy missing kind of throws your academy out the window. Alchemy kind of throws your archery units in the late game out of the window, because there it actually matters. It kind of matters with the towers, although not as much. And we don't get it here, but the tower's extra range is much more important. And engineering missing just makes your siege weapons pathetically bad. And lastly, we have the temple, which has another bonus. Priests cost minus 30%. What does it mean? Well, priests cost 85 gold, which is not as much, not particularly much. So if you do want to go for priests, you save gold, which you can in turn spend on all the upgrades. Yes, you get all of them, no complaints here. They have very strong temple. If you do want to incorporate it into your army, or if you just want to use priests to heal up your mass legions, certainly worth it at the reduced cost. Certainly good also to preserve your army when you have injured legions, kind of heal them up. It's a good idea. Or if you do have a priest tactic in mind, also to just counter elephants, etc. Certainly a unit viable to use. You save gold on the construction of a priest or on the training. You can use it for the upgrades. It's a perfect synergy. Definitely recommend it. And lastly, in this video, we have the dock. Obviously, we get fishing boats and fishing ships. That's not really worth a mention. We get the transports and the heavy transports, also not really worth a mention. Trade boat and merchant ship, all very obvious. Where it becomes interesting is we do not have fire galleys, which is a bit of a shame. We do not have catapult triremes or juggernauts, which is really a shame, because that would have probably been the last hope for your siege weaponry, but also missing. Really ranged siege weaponry, terrible for the Chosen. What we do have is the trireme. What we don't have is alchemy, and that's kind of a bummer. They do obviously get the range upgrades, which is very important. Missing alchemy kind of hurts them in the late game with trireme wars. Getting ballistics obviously pretty good. But all in all, it's fairly solid because you get triremes, but that's pretty much it. Late game not particularly great, especially with missing alchemy. When you have trireme versus trireme fights, not particularly great. Missing juggernauts and catapult triremes, kind of a nail in the coffin, so to speak. So, not necessarily a water civilization. And that wraps up The Chosen, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and until next time with the next civilization, farewell.